Hello, Luminita. Very nice to see you. I think we cannot hear you, I think. I don't know the others, but έχει μπει ο Κριστόφ.
In Bauhaus. Thank you, European Bauhaus Collective, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the invitation. It is an honor for me to open this first event of the new European Bauhaus Collective. I am very happy to have such a strong, diverse, and competent group of organizations and people that support the new European Bauhaus initiative. With the creation of this collective, you did exactly what we had in mind when we launched the project. Bringing people together from different backgrounds and disciplines. Not only to amplify good ideas, but also to create a better future for Europe and our planet. Why is this so important? Let's take some minutes to look back at the original Bauhaus that was founded in Weimar and Dessau. You all know it quickly developed into a worldwide movement. The success of this movement was only possible because the founders succeeded in combining architecture with craft and design with innovation. They put the concept of interdisciplinary into practice every day. And until today, we can see how successful they were. We see their ideas in the buildings of our cities, in our furniture, in fabrics, and art. Combining art with technology, bringing together innovation and creativity is key for deep transformation. And this is why the work of your collective is so interesting and so important for us. But this is not the only reason why the historical Bauhaus can be an inspiration for a new European Bauhaus. Let me mention two more. First of all, the historical Bauhaus was created in a time of profound transformation. People were facing the challenges of industrialization. The founders around Gropius aimed for solutions that were functional, affordable, but also beautiful. And the new European Bauhaus is also looking for this combination of aesthetics and affordability. But we want to add a very important third element: sustainability. The new European Bauhaus wants to match sustainability with style. We want to show that sustainable solutions can also be beautiful. The new European Bauhaus brings a cultural element to the European Green Deal. It wants to make the European Green Deal a tangible, touchable experience and bring it closer to the people. The third inspirational element of the historical Bauhaus is that it boldly promoted new materials like steel and cement. Today, we also need to look into new and sometimes old building materials. But this time, it's about climate-friendly materials that need less CO2 in their production process. The new European Bauhaus wants to accelerate the transformation of the built environment. It wants to scale up nature-based materials like wood and bamboo to support circular design and architecture. Buildings are responsible for 40% of our energy consumption. Only if we manage to change this, we have a chance to keep global warming below 1.5 degrees. If we succeed, we will come a great deal closer to our big European goal, to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050. To achieve this, we also count on your support and on your concrete contributions. You are at the forefront of developing the new materials and processes. You are the decision makers on new buildings and renovations in your cities. You're planning and designing houses, schools, and hospitals. you can make this change happen and bring the Bauhaus to a new era. As you know, we are still in the so-called design phase of the project. Our concept is not ready yet. We want to shape it together with all people interested and together with you. We see some trends already emerging, and one of the most important trends is the focus on renovation and reuse of buildings. In the future, it should be an exception that a building needs to be scrapped. We should use our resources in a more responsible way. And smart renovation can play a major role here. And that's why the Commission proposed last year, together with the new European Bauhaus, the renovation wave. We will present additional measures like energy performance standards for buildings that will enhance renovation in the member states. And it's good to see that there seems to be a shift in thinking in the architecture community. For the first time in its 46-year history, the Pritzker Prize was awarded not for new buildings, but for refurbishment. The architects Anne Lacton and Jean-Philippe Vazal upgraded social housing buildings in Bordeaux by making them more energy efficient and more beautiful. And these award-winning architects showed, like many others, change is possible and it is fun. So let's turn our cities into urban forests. Modern and old European cities should capture CO2 instead of emitting it. And this brings me to the last point I want to share with you today. The role of local governance, regional decision makers, cities, and rural communities. This is where the change happens. We need you, the mayors, councillors, citizens. We need you for the green transformation on the ground. We know that public procurement plays a key role. Sustainability should become a more important criterion in this process. We will make proposals on this later this year. There are already so many good examples for green transformation in cities and villages all over Europe. We want to give them visibility and use them as an inspiration for others. I want to thank you again for your support and your contributions to this initiative. I also want to encourage you to participate in the new European Bauhaus Prize that we launched last week. The good news is you still have some more weeks to apply with your projects. We are very much looking forward to get your feedback from the workshops that you will have today. It will be a valuable contribution to the design phase. And your spirit will help us to shape the concept of the new European Bauhaus. Thank you very much.
Hello to everybody. You hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
So you are warm welcome to this European Bauhaus conversation we organize and we open today on subjects we wanted to share wide open with all willing contributing party. What concerns ECO² of the Green Deal. It started about 2 years ago with Lille World Design Capital 2020, where we addressed the question of those school buildings we have in every neighborhood, in every village, that are in our region, that is a cross-border region in northern France, in bad state. About 2/3 of the schools have to be renovated within the 10 next years, considering that about 1/3 of the schools are no more usable within those 10 years. So it is a big question. And we start with this big question, considering the impact those buildings that you have to find next to your door can help to transform the neighborhood with 3 generations, involving those 3 generations. So considering school renovation, educative buildings, public buildings, renovation can have a wide impact on the transformation of our environment and the society. With Open Schools network, we propose to share in this European Bowels conversation this subject. We invited significant initiatives that have already been realized and started, that can be shared. And we have in the European Union most solution for addressing the challenge we have in front of us. This afternoon will be organized in 2 parts. Third part will be the presentation of the different panelists that are invited and accepted to contribute, to start the contribution. It is a ray of light on different initiatives. It is not 100% of the initiatives, there are a lot more, but it gives a global image of the richness of the initiatives we have and the complementarity that there is between those initiative solutions. The second part will be open discussion organized on 3 questions. Between the panelists that participate. If you have question, reaction, you can naturally use the chat. If we have enough time, it will be perhaps possible to invite some people to speak, but the time is limited, so we do the best. This is a start event. There will be others to go on the conversation, and we will co-define this with the good-willing contributing parties. So yeah, welcome, and we start. A first presentation can be of Elena Germanicki School is from Athens. And has started an initiative for last years about open schools and impact on open societies. So Sophocles, it is to you.
Thank you, Christophe. Could you please share the slides in order to?
You don't see the slides?
No.
Oh, I thought it was well. So I tried to restart.
Yeah, and I can take, let's say, the time to.
It is okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
I thought you could see the slides. Okay, so if you see the slide, it's okay.
Yeah. Now everything is okay, and from our side, I have to say that it is a great honor to share our ideas and visions with you. And I believe, following the messages also from the commissioner, that although we are coming from different fields, it seems that the area of education and the school is acting as a catalyst in this process. I would like also from my side to welcome the participants and especially the teachers who are also attending our summer course, and they let's say they are coming after a very demanding year for schools and education in general, and it is really impressive that they are still want to be involved in this kind of activities and explore new ideas. My presentation is going to be short. I would like just to introduce the idea of open schooling. Open schooling is a new concept that is introduced from the Commission back in 2016, and is describing, let's say, the school environment that is becoming open, more open to content, to different pedagogies, but also to new cooperation schemes with external stakeholders. So we would like to see the school as the hub of innovation for the community, supporting the development of the science capital of the community, and interacting through, of course, meaningful projects, through the design of meaningful projects with the local stakeholders. So, Christophe, if you want to move to the next slide, I'm going just to present some slides. Here is the vision of open schools. This was an activity that was supported from the European Commission for 3 years. We have developed a strong network of schools who were ready, let's say, to take this role and to design projects that have, let's say, this strong community aspect in the process. The projects had a big variety covering different fields, but one of the key areas was, of course, the fight against climate change. So, if you move to the next slide, this describes, let's say, the transformation journey that this project has designed for schools. I'm coming from the field of physics, so we are trying always to interconnect the physical processes with what is, let's say, for the path we have to follow in order to introduce innovation in different environments, especially in traditional environments like schools. So we represent here this transformation process as a nuclear reaction, because nuclear reaction is very difficult to happen, but when it happens, when the appropriate catalysts are there to support the nuclear reaction, the energy that it is released is huge. So that's our, let's say, approach towards this. We have to deal with the traditional environment that is resisting really to change. But when the teachers, when the key stakeholders, the school heads, and of course all the school community is convinced about the value of this innovation journey, then we can have a release of a significant energy. I will say very quickly that we see this process as a 4-step process. First, we have to bring together the innovative teachers to form communities. Then we have to engage the local stakeholders in order to increase the density, as we call it. We have to enrich the pool of projects and activities for schools, transferring new ideas from the external stakeholders. So in this way, we are increasing the temperature. And finally, we must have in place a system for teachers, for school heads and parents to assess the learning outcomes of the overall process. And then when all these mechanism is in place and we have the users on board, we can speak for a sustainable, for having a school operating as a sustainable ecosystem. The long-term aim of such an activity is that to have a group of schools, a big number of schools, ready to support the innovation agenda of the European Union. And in this way, this is our effort now, having this network and having developed this methodology. Please, Christophe, go to the next and final slide from my side. Here we see a great opportunity. We see the role of schools as we see the schools to have a key role, really, also in the new European Bauhaus, acting as, let's say, sites for innovation for the local communities and transforming really the educational buildings as let's say, places that could act as incubators for innovation. So the building itself is becoming a place for experimentation, for testing new ideas, for introducing innovative technologies and solutions that will help us to mobilize creative minds and reimagine how sustainable living could be in the future. That's all from my side as an introduction, representing, let's say, the role of schools. And I'm really looking forward to this cooperation, Christophe.
Okay. So let's fly to Denmark with low energy because we are online. To present the Foundation for Environmental Education, and that has started more than 25 years ago, the ECO²-SCHOOLS program that is now worldwide. So it is, and that is still transforming and addressing new aspects.
Thank you, Christophe. Thank you, Christophe. You can hear me?
Yes.
So next slide, please. Can you change the slide, please, Christophe?
Yes, you. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Thank you. So, thank you for this invitation. I represent the Foundation for Environmental Education and the ECO²-SCHOOL program.
There is a problem of sound.
This session will be co-moderated by my two colleagues, Arjen van Engel and Greg Oxford.
What is this? Sorry. So it's okay. It was an automatic launch of YouTube. Sorry.
Yeah, it happens. So, so I'm happy to be here and share the work that we do. Next slide, please. So, Foundation for Environmental Education is an umbrella organization. The head office in Denmark was set up in 2012. Before that, it was a loosely held network being operated by our members. So currently, we are in 79 countries with over 100 members. And this year, we are celebrating 40 years of our establishment. FEE implements 5 environmental education programs. So we are basically an implementing agency and work in the field, in the schools, hotels, or other sites. And we also have a Global Forest Fund, which basically is a resource that compensates for our own travel, and we encourage others to also contribute to compensate for their travel, and the money that is generated is used for education and offsetting through plantation activities in school. Next slide, please. So 3 of the programs focus on schools or young people, I would say. ECO² is the famous, globally well-known program, currently with 60,000 schools. Learning about forest is an outdoor education program, and it complements ECO² program, but mainly it is in Europe. And the third program is about leadership development, which is called Young Reporters for Environment, where we train young people in using different media to generate more awareness about environment. And the other two programs also are based on tourism. They have an education component. Blue Flag is a known brand for certifying beaches, and Green Key for hotel and tourism establishment. Next slide, please. So ECO² as a program has for 12 themes. So you can see it's right from biodiversity to climate change, energy, food, and up to water, which this basically also reflects the different aspects that are there in a school system or things that we need to focus on. And these are basically an organizing principles to help schools to plan and implement their projects. Next slide, please. So in terms of, we look at from a climate action or the SDG 13 perspective, climate change is now a cross-cutting issue. So a school, when it plans for any project, whether it's water or litter, has to see that how they are impacting and working on climate change. And climate change as a theme also interconnects different sustainable development goals. Next, please. So the 7-step change framework for continuous improvement is the way the program happens. So ECO² program is known for two things. One is the 7-step process, which is the pedagogy, and the green flag, which is given after an assessment process. Basically, green flag certifies a criteria. If anybody is interested, I can share a rubric of how and what kind of assessment is done. So it's a whole school approach. And this 7-step, if you look at it, starts with the formation of ECO committee, because we want children to be at the center of action. And the children, then students from different classes, then as a group or ECO committee conducts an environmental review, find out what are the challenges are there. The teachers link those issues with the curriculum. Based on the resources that are there in the school and the priority, the school makes an action plan, which is implemented as a project-based learning approach. And then it is monitored and evaluated. And then the other important activity is called inform and involve, which is the 5th step. Basically, it is looking at how other stakeholders, especially parents, can be informed about the activities that are being done in school, and also is a dissemination to the communities in which school is situated. And if all the experiences after this project cycle is synthesized as a learning, which is then presented, or a value, which is presented as an ECO code. And this is a continuous cycle that happens every year. And our experience is that a new school takes almost 2 years to perfect it and implement it. And this is supported by different educational resources that we produce. As you see, 2 of them. One is about educating, basically listing behavioral outcomes to achieve sustainable development goals. And the second one is education for advancing circular economy. Next, please. Just sharing some of the example. One of the big project that was taken up by some of our countries in the Southern Europe was Climate, which was basically planning to transition to a low carbon economy in schools. So Portugal, Spain, France, and Gibraltar, basically they participated in this and implemented it. Next slide. So it was a whole school. Basically, they looked at energy. Then they created a tool where the benchmarking was done, and then action was taken based on whether it was retrofitting that can be done, or whether there is some management, or then the important part is what can be done through the behavior. My own experience has shown that behavior alone can reduce a carbon footprint of a school by 10 to 15%. That itself is a high potential, apart from the technological fix. And then other aspect that I would like to also highlight, that technology alone cannot be a solution, because every new technology needs new behaviors, and that also has to go with education. So this is the approach taken by this project, where the data was gathered and action on the data was taken based on the resources that were available. Next, please. The other initiative is from Malta, which basically looked at how the school can influence the issues in the community and what kind of small projects can be taken to increase or enhance sustainability. And that range from spaces for sharing, meeting, green spaces, plantation, reducing materials that cannot be recycled, and creating awareness on the issue. Next, please. The other aspect or other way to look at is was through a project called Eating Responsibly in Bulgaria. This happened in many countries, but in Europe. And the entry point here was the food, which is a thing that everybody understands, and especially in a school system. And then the issue of food was connected with biodiversity, climate change, water, by looking at investigations, which was projects, that inquiry projects, which were looking at what are the local and seasonal food, what will happen if you don't eat in season, then the means of production, what are the organic product procurement, and what is organic production systems, what is our meat consumption, what is the impact of meat consumption, and from where this is coming, and then looking at food waste. And if you look at it from an impact perspective, this project was able to reduce food waste by at least almost 30%. And the student understood the terminologies. And this is also important because the moment you understand those words and you start noticing them everywhere on social media or newspaper or other places, which otherwise is oblivious because you don't identify or understand that word, which could be climate change, as simple as that. Next, please. The other project, which we just ended as a pilot, is called ECO² project for advancing circular economy. And then we are using circular economy as an integrative principle and trying to enhance circularity in school through basically starting with the recycle and recover, reuse, and refusing and reducing. And that also goes with Bauhaus, that how can you, that was highlighted in the video that was shared, that starting with basically material, which is the highest, smarter use and manufacturing, material that has a low carbon footprint, and then looking at material which can be recycled and reduced, and also not wasting resources that are already there when we are restructuring our school buildings. Next, please. So this is how ECO² works from a climate change or energy or climate, different aspects of climate change. If you have any question, please feel free to write to me and we can have a discussion. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Pramod, for this introduction. And we see the richness of the initiatives. It is only part that was presented. Perhaps we go to Belgium and with a connection with the Netherlands in Benelux. And Association Good Planet Association is taking many initiatives in connection with schools and also considering this educative changing of habits, changing minds, changing education.
Yes, thank you, Christophe. Indeed, I am Anna Leonard. I work for Good Planet Belgium. I'm the coordinator of the Nature Project, but I'm going to explain a bit more on different teams. We are an organization that we have as a vision and a mission to inspire all generations to realize a sustainable society. And you work in different teams that work on a certain theme, a program. So, for example, you have a team that works on the aspect of mobility, another team that works on the sustainable food, and like that we are structured actually. But there's a lot of links, of course, between the programs. I'm gonna light out some of our projects which fitted very good, I think, and I see already a lot of links to what Pramod just showed in his presentation, like you will see in what I'll explain further. One of the big projects we had since 2016 is creating green schoolyards, green and adventurous schoolyards, up to 500 schools in the last 5 years. So that's already a big number, I think, of schools where we did a trajectory with the children, with the teachers to create these green schoolyards. The goal is really to empower the schools to create it and also to use it in a sustainable way afterwards, from vision to aftercare. In this idea, they could also use the tools we created before in Pimpje Speelplaats, but also in other projects like the Boom In, which is into the tree in English, where we created tools for outdoor education and teaching in forests. There we still are with Oslever and the Walloon part. So Pimpje Speelplaats was in the Flemish part of Belgium. Oslever is in the Walloon part of Belgium, where we still are coaching schools. This year, 50 new schools will be coached. And also we are helping in the coaching of schools in Antwerp for ECO²-SCHOOLS. Yes, thank you. Also, we made up a publication about generational gardens. What is this? This is a child care organization or a school and a residential care center where we work together with those two institutions to turn the outdoor spaces of the residential care center into a interesting, biodiverse and dynamic place where they can meet, they can enjoy the outdoor space, which a lot of times now is just some grass and a bench. But that we do want to change and create this link with the outdoor environment, and the municipality in the whole. So have a link with the neighbors in the environment. Yeah. Another project is the Nestelbos. In French, it's Bois Cocon. In English, it would be nesting forest. It is an educational play forest with a focus on care, welfare, and talent development. What does it mean? Well, there are different nests in this forest where children can play, where children can develop their own talents. They really can choose where will I go and play, and what is my thing actually, and what do I want to develop, what is the thing that attracts me. To build up this nesting forest, we build it together with children, with youngsters, with organizations in the neighborhood, and we focus really on underprivileged children and youngsters to really get them participating in building it and enhancing their self-confidence and self-conscience as well. And we invite schools also there to inspire them for their own schoolyards, to show them what is possible actually in outdoor education, in outdoor play. Yeah. This is a project which is not that nature linked, but it's really on different themes. It's a project that my colleague works on, so I'm not the expert of it, but I can, if you want more information, you can contact me and I'll send you through the right person. What do we do in this project? Well, it's a trajectory for schools where they analyze their school on different themes: waste, energy, water, and mobility. We use an online tool and also kiosks, what you see on the image above there. So the students can click on an option, for example, on the team mobility, how did you come to school? So, and this is one way of analyzing the mobility at school. And during the trajectory, the students create recommendations for the climate policy of the municipality or the city. The trajectory is coached by one of my colleagues, which is called in the project the Climate Guy. It's a translation, a bit of a local name, which is Klimaatket, and he supports the school in the trajectory. Yeah. We have also a lot of projects on sustainable food. Where do we want to go with this? It's really our vision to go to these edible schoolyards, which is linked also with the neighborhood, where people from the neighborhood can go to and use as well, or maintain as well, where local food suppliers are linked to the school, for example, with Soup Snack. It's a project where we work with school with low SES profiles, and there we make together soup with local producers products. Also, we coach trajectories to sustainable school canteens, which can take up to 5 years. So for one trajectory, we have trajectories for schools on creating vegetable school gardens. We supply boxes with information about vegetable school gardens. Yeah, we still are looking for other options like edible forest, together with IVN as well, who have parallel projects with us. One of them is tiny forests. I didn't have a slide of this because normally IVN was maybe in one of the workshops as well, but I want to mention it already. Tiny forest, maybe you know it already, but it's a project where we create mini biodiverse forests next and with schools, in a neighborhood of schools or on school grounds, where the students help planting. I hear an echo. I don't know if there is. Yeah, so we plant a tiny forest together. The neighborhood is also connected with the tiny forest, and they participate as well. And the students learn and go to the tiny forest regularly. Yeah, voilà. Thank you a lot. And if you have any questions about our projects or about our work with schools, then you can always contact me, or just follow us on our social media. Then you will have a lot of updates on our work. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So we are going not too far from Belgium, in Germany, but in eastern part of Germany, towards South Germany, with Lernlandschaft. Lernlandschaft is working for years now on the change of designing the educative space with the educative community and deciders. So if Lernlandschaft is fair.
Okay. Thank you, Christoph, for this nice words, and welcome to all the complete group we are gathering here. What is Landschaft? It's a German word, and we are a consultant company. You've seen the name Karen Doberer and Corbina Meitinger. So Corbina, that's me, and we are a great team of completely different persons and with different professions, and we are consultants to build, oh, please the next slide, landscapes for learning. That's the English translation for Lernlandschaft. And so we have took away your nice little sketchy landscape from the slides, because it's perfect fitting to what we are doing. Here on the slide, you can see the questions we are asking for, or what's the special aim of landscape or environment to us, and how it fits together with building a new school or renovating a school or transforming a team working at a school. So there are different settings for different tasks in a landscape. You remember the small nesting forest from last slides. Accept different paces and different routes in a landscape. That's possible, and it should be also be possible in a school to find your own way to learn some things. Remember, you're learning vocabulary. Some people are on the table and working for their own. Some are running around. Some using all sticky notes everywhere. So there are different routes to the same target or to the same thing you want to achieve. In a landscape, there are places for coming together and options to focus on your own. And that we try to introduce into the buildings, called a marketplace or a school, classroom, or also corners where to sit with two persons. So we try to bring the positive aspects of landscape into the buildings. Learn how to learn and how to support others in the process. So you're learning, sometimes you're learning on your own, and you can also learn how to give information to other people that they understand what you're meaning and try to communicate with them. So that's should also be happening in a building, in a school building. And last point, there are no blank areas in an environment. And that's about sustainability. We try to find the best use of space and existing resources in a building and around a building. Remember, in a landscape, there are no blank areas where you can do nothing, maybe a dump or something like this, but there is normally nothing. You can't do anything. And that is, we try to achieve in the buildings too. So the main question is how we will work together in maybe 5 years. And then we try to encourage everyone to develop a vision how we will work together. So next slide, please. So, and the point is we are zooming into the landscape, getting to the agglomeration of the buildings, and the question how we will work together in 5 years. And then next step, and how to create and build a long-lasting, supportive and sustainable environment. That's the thing. If we are renovating or building a new school, to think about it, is it just energy efficient, or are there possibilities if you're doing a renovation that all the working atmosphere and things are improved too? Next slide, please. So, and in a typical project, how to draw and build a long-lasting, supportive and sustainable environment. That's an interesting question. And in every normal school project, there are 3 or maybe 4 or 5 forces. I let it in this triangle drawing. There are 3 groups. There are the users of the building, teachers, students, and even social workers and from the local community and so on. There are many people using or meeting in a school building. There are political decisions and cost of operation. Usually in Germany, that's part of the urban administration, and they've got a very own perspective on school. They are just counting the numbers. So they aren't that interested in how beautiful it is or how the children see this building. So that's one part. And the third part is design and construction. And if you ask an architect what is a good school building, so normally he's thinking about the facade and how it fits in the landscape, and how to win in competition. So, well, how to win the next competition. That's maybe the cliche of what an architect is thinking. And we are in the middle of this triangular of different forces and thoughts. And you see, every stakeholder has his own vision on a good school building. So next slide, please. And yeah, that's our job, make them understand each other. What is a good school, and long-lasting, supportive and sustainable environment? And for the users too, it's are they loving or in love with the building, then they take care of the building, for example. Or is it a small building? Is the cost of operation a little bit lower, maybe, than a large building? And so we try to bring together those different perspectives as a consultant company. Next slide, please. And here on I think it's the last slide, you can see some typical pictures of our work. For example, on the right side above, there are teachers talking to each other and thinking about how we will work together. What will we do? Will we work for, are we lonesome heroes or something like this? Or what's our new rituals to get together, for example? So they're developing ideas for the new building. On the right hand, the picture on downwards, it's a 3D rendering, because the user normally has no idea if there is a construction plan or drawing or something, a technical drawing or something like this in 2D. They can't imagine what is happening in the new building, or what will it mean, for example, to cut such a window. If you see the person with the green t-shirt, the student behind him, it's a cut-in window to see outside from the classroom. And so what will happen if you have got those windows in the building? So that's how to show the vision to a non-architectural or non-engineer user. In the middle, you can see in Germany, it's called Zuordnungsschema. So that's a diagram to see the relationship between the classrooms, the meeting area called marketplace, and the orange and blue ones are different other parts of the room. So that's in the development process from the very beginning. We are talking about those relationships between rooms and their qualities, and that's the and then after this is clear and everyone agrees with these relationships, then the architect can have his ideas and develop a plan after this. So you're avoiding the typical schools. On the right hand, the classrooms, in the middle, the small hall, and on the left side, the other classroom. So that's a typical school building, and so you're avoiding this idea. And on the left side, of course, you see one of the results of such building is also a very eco-friendly building. You can see the timber, wooden timber construction of this new building. It's very energy efficient, and you see the idea, the transparency and the gathering on a marketplace, and those ideas are realized. And so that's one of typical result. But it doesn't work without users, and it doesn't work without being part of the whole building process, from the concept to the very end, to the finished building. So you've got to take part all the time. And be constructive and make them talk with each other. And yeah, we've been doing this for over 2 decades now. And next slide, please. Yeah, and it's still fun. As Mrs. von der Leyen said, it should be fun, and those processes normally are fun too. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for this very inspiring presentation. So we go back to Belgium in the Flanders region, and we begin to consider the problem of renovation of schools and what kind of decision have to be made for this and qualitative process. So I invite AJ Real Estate, School van Mogen, if they are there, to take the word. Is Philippe Monserrat there? No?
Oh, his microphone.
He has a problem.
His microphone is switched off, maybe.
Okay. Philippe? Can we check if Philippe has a problem with his microphone? Or is he's there? Hello, Philippe? Yes, he's there. Hello, Philippe? Philippe, you are there? It sounds there is a problem. So I will shift to the next presentation and we come back in 1 minute. Perhaps it's, so we go to Austria with INTEC was involved in one of former big programs on school renovations, Renew Schools and different other programs. What have brought a very interesting content, and Austria is still totally engaged. Armin Knotzer, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes,
do you hear
welcome.
me? Fine, thank you. Okay, I'm Armin Knotzer. I'm from a Institute for Sustainable Technologies in Austria, and we are doing applied research. And we are going, of course, for energy efficient and high qualitative renovation of buildings in our research work, and also did this Renew School project, but also others before, for example, School Went Cool, where it was also about ventilation and indoor air quality and so on and so on. And I want to show a few slides what we are doing here in Austria. The first is, as you can see, this is the existing school reality we face here still in Austria, that we have a lot of schools with really big problems with their facilities, no matter if there are windows, very old windows or ventilation systems, single units, or there are also problems with walls and ceilings. Can please the next. And of course, when we do research on that and we go for renovations, can you do the next slide, please? Then we are looking for solutions. And as a research institute, we are looking for technical solutions which can bring us to a more qualitative renovation process and also quality. And so what we had here in Austria from 2005 on until now, we have a lot of front-runner buildings, let's say, which did prefabrication with, in this example, wooden elements, mostly wooden elements in Austria, of course, because we have the industry here for that, but it could also be different from wooden, of course. But let's see. let's see the example here. So we have a big element. It's normally 3 meters to 12 meters. You can produce it in a factory with no problems with outdoor weather or whatever. And you can do it in very short time. And of course, it should be very high quality. You can think also of vacuum insulation panels, but also for different layers of insulation you can put there. And for every single buildings, you will for sure have a solution. Please, the next slide. And there are really good examples doing or using this prefabricated renovation work. And you can see here one building, it's a very old one. In between, it's from 2007. We also did it with these prefabricated elements, also did work in the inside of the school. And you can see here, it's of course, like also Lernlandschaft said, it's a comprehensive work. It's not only design, but it's also the implementation, which is very important. And you have to utilize everything, also the indoor environment. And there are, of course, very good examples here, as you can see. And the energy use is no, it was okay. The energy use is, of course, also a very important and relevant factor. And as you can see here, we had, for example, also in this school, we had a very good, when you compare the planning calculations for energy use, we have very good numbers here in comparison to the use on site. So it was planned, for example, here for ventilation, around totally 14,000 kilowatt hours per year. And when you measure it, you are really very close to this, because you have a really very high qualitative process. And this is what we are aiming for. Please, the last slide. But of course, together with a very good design also for this high qualitative renovations. And I can only say, in addition to Lernlandschaft, of course, you need very good partners here. And a very interesting and important part is participation on site. So you need also the teachers, you need the pupils, you need the planning teams, the technical planning teams, and all together the designing teams, and all together is of course important. And then you can really have a very good potential for this modular renovation and can reach very high quality. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Armin. And we will have surely different learnings to share in the next steps. So I go back to Scholen van Morgen and give a word to Philippe. Is it okay, Philippe? Hello?
Do you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes. That's with echo. I don't know what is the problem.
Yeah, I think now it's better.
Yes, perfect.
Okay, I'm trying to do it with my iPhone. Okay, there we go. I would like to talk to you about Schools of Tomorrow, Scholen van Morgen in Flanders, Belgium, managed by AG Real Estate. And just before one of the presentations, the question was launched, how to build a long-lasting, supportive and sustainable environment. But maybe we can extend this question and say how to build a long-lasting relationship, how to build a long-lasting engagement. And I think that the setup of Scholen van Morgen, Schools of Tomorrow, was really an answer to that. So I will not zoom in, especially on the content and the pedagogical issues, but more on the process. Next slide, please. So what am I talking about? I'm still saying, and we hope it's still so, but hopefully within some years it will change. That is that we are working on or have nearly done the biggest social infrastructure project in Europe. As you can see here, we are talking about 182 different projects all over Flanders, so geographically spread out. Regarding the dimension, very, very small schools of 800 square meters, but the biggest one was 27,500 square meters, which means a campus of 11 different buildings. So let's say not the span of control of the span of dimension was a real challenge. We are also talking about 250 different buildings. Square meters, you can translate it in football yards, so 710,000 square meters, which is a lot. Most of them new construction and let's say 5 to 10% renovation and even a restoration. And what is special here, and that's why I was talking about the long-lasting environment, relationship, and engagement. In this setup, it is also included 30 years of maintenance. Okay. So the answer to all this was a public-private partnership. Public-private, first of all, you have the special purpose vehicle, which in this case was a combination of the Flemish government for 25% and 75% AG Real Estate and BNP Paribas, which is the center place of this methodology. On the public side, end users, we are talking about 182 projects, but from 100 different school boards. So you could imagine at the same time more than 100 end customers. From the supplier side, and that's why this program, there's a lot of unique designs. We are talking about 70 different architects, not only from Belgium, also from the Netherlands, England, Ireland, and Germany. More than 40 engineering companies and more than 40 structural advisors, 25 general contractors, and the center of operations, because the SPV was the center of, let's say, contractual environment, but the really driving partner was the one and only project and program manager by AG Real Estate. Yes, next slide. Some years ago, describing the system and describing the output, the Education Funding Agency in the UK described this program and this setup as a shining example of mass customization. Mass customization, why? It's about a lot of different pieces, missions, but all very standardized when we are talking about process. Talking about delivery, here I have a small summary. In 2015, 5 schools delivered, and in 2017, already 150 schools delivered, which is an enormous space. If you can see, in 2016, we delivered nearly 100 different schools, which means 2 schools every week. Okay. Okay, maybe you can think it is a nice story, but what about evaluation? And there was an evaluation by the Flemish government agency, AGON, which is like the earlier mentioned administration in the UK. The initial 165 projects were evaluated and compared to the traditional system. So a traditional system with going the normal way, as they did already 30 or 50 years, compared to this private-public partnership. We can say that I've been so honest to show you our initial schedule and what we already at the end delivered. But nevertheless, our PPP system was 8 months faster than the traditional system. That's first lesson. Second lesson, that is that regarding delivery day, we were 84% compliant with what we promised, and only, let's say, 8% important delays more than 1 month, which is exceptional in construction world. And regarding the budget, also 84% below the predefined budget, which was described with the financial norm. Only 40%, less than 10% more, and 2% exceptions. So delivered on time and delivered within the budget for 85% and a lot faster than. Next slide, please. In our perspective, and I think also in perspective of a lot of other stakeholders and people involved, the success was thanks to different aspects. First of all, you need to be agile. You can build a big machine to deal with this challenge, but you should stay agile in any way. But you need process standardization. And that's why they said in the UK, it's mass customization. What's important is the lessons learned attitude. It's also the advantage of having a lot of projects at the same time. That is that you can learn from the first 10 or 20 projects and to introduce these lessons learned in the next 150 or 160 projects. But you need to do, let's say, a little standstill to put that in your system, in your mindset, in all your internal and external team members. Technology is very important to manage this kind of programs. Thanks to the Schools of Tomorrow program, we could support 3 startups, which are now really important companies in the construction world. Risk management is important from day one, and that's why you need a lot of monitoring and reporting. And on top of that, what we always, I think, as architects and engineers, we forget, it's communicate, try to create really, in this case, a school of tomorrow community, that everybody is really involved and that you're in the mindset of all your stakeholders. Maybe going back to ECO, the subject of today, what I tried to describe until now is a methodology of private-public partnership. What's important is to do a big volume at the same time. It's possible to manage a lot of stakeholders, but what about the output? So what was our impact? And it's more than about education. I've tried to summarize here in 5 chapters, which are really, I think, the subject of today and I hope so the next months and years. Okay, first of all, it's about education. And education, it's more than, let's say, usual education, but it's also about sports, for example. Urban development, building schools, it's an opportunity to redevelop some industrial sites. It's really an opportunity to reorganize schools in campuses, in really modern campuses which are open. About urban development, you can integrate the community. It's really a shame to have school infrastructure only used maybe 1/3 a year, closing at 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, also always closed in the weekend. Here we have in this program more than 80% of infrastructure is used by the larger community as well, and it should be 100%. About health, if you renovate or build new buildings, acoustics, ventilation, daylight, and especially ventilation is really a hot issue nowadays. It's also a possibility, even an obligation, to be compliant with all new standards, for example, accessibility, fire safety, and so on. Don't forget the economical impact. Yes, there is a big European plan to relaunch the economy and so on. I can say this program was really a boost for architects, contractors, suppliers, and so on. Just to imagine, we spent more than 70 million euro in 3 years' time for architects and engineers, and nearly 1 billion euro in 3 years' time in net construction cost. Also, the preventive and corrective maintenance is a real positive impact on the long term. And about environment, you can implement dynamic solar blinds. Yes, it seems to be easy, more also free cooling, LED lighting, solar panel, geothermal energy, and so on and so on. So this is the positive impact, let's say, first, second, and third degree. And I would like to summarize with my last slide, what is important for every project and every initiative. Teamwork works always, and it's about passion, engagement, expertise, and don't forget process management. And it was this process management that I like to emphasize in this short presentation. If you're asking where are we now, today 171 of the 182 projects are delivered and in use, and 11 are nowadays under construction, and most of them will be delivered before the end of the year. Thank you, Christophe, for the opportunity to communicate this ambitious project of my team and myself.
It was the right place, and there are other projects ongoing, as example in Canada with Lab ECO² now, and the learnings of those projects are very important to manage the scale-up approach. But once the European Commission, but it's not so easy to achieve. So it is really necessary to connect and share the initiatives. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And I can mention the Flanders region has a target to 1,000 retrofitted new schools within 10 years to 2030.
That's correct. Maybe I can add also that the government decided some months ago to launch a second similar program of 1 billion euro again, which will be launched practically end of this year, beginning next year. Also a PPP methodology.
Thanks. We will follow this and as possibly also manage cross added value connections. I give a word to Béatrice Auxan. She has started the association Habiter 2030. It is an exemplary project that is taking the question in the different direction. It's going to the students of architecture and very large collaborative effect. Started with Solar Decathlon 2019, and they won the first prize of Solar Decathlon. So Béatrice, if you are there.
Thank you. Yes. Do you hear me? It's okay.
And if you can do this quite quickly, so we have a little time to address the questions together. No, take your needed time, but do it efficiently.
Okay. Thank you. I like the what you said just before. Teamwork always works. I think it's a good slogan for us too, because it's what we talk about in Habiter 2030 is together around pedagogy and research for sustainable, aesthetic, and inclusive built environment. And we think that to innovate, the projects must be extended beyond conventional boundaries. And our Habiter 2030 since 2016 is a unique platform to implement multidisciplinarity and bridging the gap between students, teachers, researchers, and those involved in the planning and construction and the use of the built environment. Our method of our team won the Solar Decathlon Europe 2019, which is an international competition with innovative solution. Our subject was the houses from the industrial era, but our method can be, of course, good for other types of buildings, of course, education building. Next. Habiter 2030 is a non-governmental association, and we are in the Hauts-de-France region with lots of academic competencies and also an important industrial sector. And among the Northwestern European neighbors, we face real challenges related to industrial conversion and to environmental changes. Our organization fulfilled several functions. First one is strategic, organizing and uniting to innovate. The second is logistical, resourcing to experiment and learn together, and educational, sharing and transferring results. The slide, the picture you see is about the Solar Decathlon Europe solution that we proposed. So the sketch above, and then the pavilion in Hungary down. Next step. As I said, our approach, our method enabled Habiter 2030 to win this competition by bringing out innovative solutions. And for the massive renovation of industrial age houses, we had the general prize, but also as it is a decathlon, there is 10 prizes also, and we were in good place for 6 of them. Next. When I say that we try to work together, we brought 14 universities and research centers together: architecture, design, engineering, economic and social science, and construction. But we bring also local authorities, companies, professional organizations, and the social landlord. So the slide is with some person of the winning team. Not everybody could be there, but you see it's a lot of people. And our co-design method made it possible to include also home owners and tenants at the association during the workshops conducted by the students. Next. After the competition, we worked on a public brochure, which can be seen in our website. We worked on an exhibition, and we actually work on applying the principles of our winning projects to a real house. You can see on the slide on the right. We actually have also further academic research transforming a house by the students, some guidelines for companies and public authorities. And we are involved in the 2 European projects, of course, ECO²-SCHOOLS, but also another European projects with the Métropole Européenne de Lille in the city facility program. Next. You have an idea here of the partners in our association, around 7 college, academic, college, public institution, actors, planners, promoters, private industrial and commercial law firms, professional federation organization, students, and other partners. And you have the name of the 20 organizations which are part of the association. Actually part, we can be more in the future, and some private person can be also member of the association, not only organization. So we have also two teachers of university. Next. As Christophe says, usually we are our originality and the plus of our organization for the new Bauhaus, European Bauhaus, is the strength of the collective, making it possible to take the step aside with unexpected innovative solutions, because when the students work together, then there is no boundaries. So another plus is to structure a regional European ecosystem in co-learning schools, students, companies, researchers, and multidisciplines. And of course, the important place of the young creative people in the art of building, architects and fellow builders, and systemic territorial approach with an independent strategy within our association to diversify the proof of concept, as the designers say, including new typology and go to scale. So we can see that the experience of the Habité 2030 collective begin to modify pedagogy in the schools. We begin a new project with 4 schools, and the cross education is now a model to structure an ecosystem to successfully extend the proof of concept in the form of co-experimentation, and bring a new position for public actors, stakeholders, and not only ordering parties. It's important that some people not only say how to do, tell the other how to do, but they are part of it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Beatrice. You see the richness of the interventions. We will have a short second intervention from Belgium, from the Bouwmeester Maître Architect in Brussels region, on how we introduce quality in projects and the initiative of school contracts with the neighborhoods in Brussels region.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anne de Cagnière. I'm working for the team for the Brussels Bouwmeester Maître Architect. So that's a very local scale. Here you have like bigger regions. We work for the Brussels capital region, so it's the city of Brussels on a bigger scale. Our goal is to supervise the quality of all urban developments on the territory of the Brussels capital region. So my intervention will focus more on the overall design governance process, more than on school projects itself. That's what we are, but that's what our role is. We're an advisory team for the Brussels government on all the building projects, but also urban planning projects. So also a lot of schools pass by our team. And so, we are not like in the School of Morgen process, which is a very large public-private partnership. In Brussels, we still handle the more traditional way of process, design process for building schools. Yeah, you can pass to the next one. We have a team of 15 people, and we are focusing on research by design. That is very soon maybe you can pass to the next one. Very you can very early in the design process. Lots of public administrations have questions about. We have some lots. We have a public program for a school. We would like to mix it maybe with a kindergarten, or we don't know if the place is there. And we do this like design exercises very early in the process, just to help public authorities define on which plot they could implement which program. The physical situation in Brussels is also very different from Flanders. It's a very densely built city, and there's a very small amount of empty plots at disposal, and so it is much more a challenge of renovation, refurbishment, reuse, not only of existing school buildings, but also of a lot of abandoned office buildings that can be transformed into other programs, for instance, schools, but also all industrial sites that we prefer to refurbish them instead of demolishing and starting all over again. And yeah, we do some first tests. That is very early in the process. And then in the next phase, when it comes to a good brief for an eventual competition, and this is just some examples for one of the municipalities that had a small terrain that we test if their need for a primary school could take part on that terrain, and if it could be even combined with other functions. Okay, then in the next phase, you can also go to the next slide. We accompany the public authorities in the for competitions, public competitions for new schools. The most important part for us is defining a good brief of what the school could be or should be. And in terms of as well the school program, but of course also all the ambitions you all talked about, the climate challenges, the energy efficiency, social challenges also about and making interactions between school programs and other users, sharing space, also the educational program. And we always try to challenge the public authorities to get a step further, because they are not the experts of building, not the experts of new methods of reuse of materials. And that's how we accompany them to define a good brief. Okay, then we have the competition. We have high standards of criteria, where we also have like the, not only the I want to oppose to what was said, that architects would only care about the facade. I think the criteria used in Brussels for design competitions for new schools prove that we are not only talking about facades, and very much about how we integrate as well the spatial elements to the integration, the educational program, or also social challenges. And yeah, that's okay. Next slide. So for every that's you can also pause these ones because we have to be a bit faster, I think. Yeah, for us it's also important to create and define good qualitative criteria, and then for every school program, the competition turns out that we have several proposals for the same brief with the same criteria, like in the next slide. And so a real discussion can go on about if it's more like a vertical school, or will it be, and then with more open space, or will it be like more different forms, different interactions, different programs are compared then in the competition. And of course, the users take part of the jury that decide about these different school programs. Okay, you can pass to the next one. Another thing we do is then in the next phase, when we have a quality chamber where every big project that is going to be created in Brussels has to pass for avis. Dus we need to give an advice on it. And it gathers all actors to talk really about the project and talk about the quality of the project. Is it, does it create enough interaction? What about the environmental goals of the educational program? Could it integrate more other programs and for the neighborhood, for instance? So that's a very interesting project meeting where all these actors get together to discuss concrete projects. Okay, and then that was about, of course, in the next slide, you can see that we also took part in, you can pass on, in the Urban Maestro European project. That's the next one, where a lot of all these good design practices, but more from the urban design governance aspect, are gathered and were discussed. And are shared now on a very interesting European website. In Brussels, I also just wanted to point you out another experience. That's the one, not of the BMA, but the next slide, about there's in the Brussels capital region also a team, 15 people, setting out like quality guides of good school buildings, but also about good schoolyards. And for these good schoolyards, this program, this quality guide is also, you can see it in the next slide, combined with a subsidiary program so that schoolyards of schools can be refurbished to make them more sustainable, to make them more interactive, to create more well-being for the kids going there. And so these guidelines that were taken in the quality guides will now also be become reality with support, financial support of the Brussels capital region. That is on the schoolyard part of the program. And then a new instrument was also the school contracts, because one of the challenges in a very dense city is, of course, how can these school buildings also be used by other users? And these school contract programs are 4-year investment plans to support schools to change the organization of the school, do some renovations, do some new buildings, but to open up their spaces also for external users. So for instance, this school had the entry in the north on a very busy street. The school contract will subsidize now the creation of a new entrance building and another in more interesting, calmer, greener street. But then this new building will, of course, also have polyvalent spaces that can open up for the district around it. Okay, I think these are some of the Brussels topics that I wanted to mention.
Thanks a lot for a very, very efficient presentation, because this is actually very rich what is developed in this creative process in Brussels. I have to mention that it is also existing in the Flanders region, in some cities in Walloon region as Charleroi, and that the scale-up approach would not be possible if it was not started by experimentation first in the Flanders region. So there is a real good connection between the design process, qualitative chamber that is existing in Belgium and research by design, and the new offers that are transforming the territory in Belgium. I give a word now, what is a bit now with a design question, because we are facing a change. You have noticed the European Union has voted the climate law, so the change we have to achieve is minus 50% of CO2 emissions. It is a systemic objective. So we will have to change. So Dominique Schema what is starting a new design school in Cergy-Pontoise with a totally new focus in France, is questioning us with this. Dominique, are you there?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Christophe, and thank you very much to all the previous speakers, because it was very inspiring. Really, so much things to do. So I'll go to the next slide. So first, who we are. We are a brand new design school, and we announced this creation at the exact moment where Ursula von der Leyen announced the creation of the new Bauhaus, or the new European Bauhaus. This is not a coincidence, I think. I think that everybody is focusing on the same issues, and we do it our ways by creating this new design school. So we are part of an alliance called the CY Alliance. CY stands for Cergy. Together with ECO² Business School, and in connection with 10 other Grandes Écoles, either public or private, we are a cross-disciplinary alliance where you can find architecture schools, art schools, biology schools, engineering schools, computer science schools, electronic schools, political schools. So a lot of different schools, okay? And we are creating the first ever design school in a university, because, you know, it's singularity in France. Most of the design schools are linked to the National Education Ministry or the Culture Ministry. And we are the only one, depending on the Ministry of Higher Education. So next slide. So this is the status of the world, okay? And we share, all of us, we share this analysis, okay, on the climate change, the endangered biodiversity, the social injustice everywhere. Youth anger, they are asking, you know, they don't understand the way we have been managing the planet so far. The rise of women's voice, okay, and through the Me Too movement. And I will say the democratic crisis, and also there, whatever the system, whatever the political system, we know that we are facing a lot of democratic crisis, because the connection between the ruling elite of our countries and the reality is not there anymore. And so the question is, next slide, okay, what is to be done? Knowing that, I mean, we had, I didn't say that before from the previous slide, that we had a kind of a revelation, epiphany with the COVID crisis, okay? The COVID crisis is changing everything. It's an acceleration. And so we have to ask ourselves, what is to be done? Okay, and this is exactly the question that Lenin was asking himself in 1905 at the eve of the 20th century. He didn't know that what was going to happen, but it is exactly what he was asking himself at the beginning of the 20th century. What is to be done? Well, I say that, next slide, this is what we have to do. Okay? The real issue is about the decision. It's not about our productions. It's not about, I mean, we have to produce cars, objects, spaces, buildings, roads, cities. We have to do that. But those are the consequences of our decision. And we are now in a situation we have to take the best possible decision. Everything depends on our decisions. And so how can we take the best possible decision? Next slide. We do it through design, okay? Design is a process where you're asking yourself question, you're confronting the question with reality, you create problematics through that, then you have a creative approach to find solution to those problematics, and then you test them back on the field, you prototype them, and then you have some answers, and then through the answers, then you develop the solution and you provide it to the public, knowing that you have been working collectively on all the process, and you have been involving creativity, sensibility, everything, okay, has been involved. Okay, and so design is an approach that helps us to do everything. If we look at the three, main challenges that we are facing in the 21st century, there are three of them, okay? First of all, it's manage, use, and transform the world resources in a sustainable and reasoned manner, okay? The second one is design and produce objects, systems, services, and experience for the benefit of each and every one of us. And the third one is prepare, motivate, and orchestrate the possible decision. And when you look at all those three challenges, you can see that right now, in our industrial approach, in our industrial society, or in the consumer society, all of those challenges are taken into account by different populations, okay? The first one is engineers. The second one is engineers, designers, managers, marketers, and the third one by our elites. They are coming from all the same schools, okay? And they are not connected to the first two questions, okay? And what we have to do now is to connect the three challenges together and to say, this is what design is about. It's about, you know, taking the best possible decision that will produce objects, systems, services, and experiences, and they will use as less as possible matter in the world, okay? And so, next slide. We have to reinvent not only education, but design school, because, you know, when you look at the challenge of education in the 21st century, you could say, okay, well, you know, just look at design school. They are the perfect templates for that, okay? It's a century that design schools have been doing cross-disciplinary approaches, human-centered approach, but even design schools have to reinvent themselves, because as every school, they are also the children of the Industrial Revolution. They are also the children of the consumer society. So if we want to face the challenges of the 21st century, we have to reinvent the design schools themselves. Okay? And so through a new design mix. And this new design mix is the following. 7 pillars, okay? The first one is culture, 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 and culture. You have to be cultivated, okay? You have to know how to think, and you have to get references. And you know how to share your thoughts, and you also know how to write. The second one is representing. Yes, you know, this is the difference between designers and everybody else. You know, they are using their right brain to draw, to create shapes, okay? And you can give shapes to ideas, okay? But first, you have to get ideas first, okay? But, you know, representing is a new way to look at the world and to think and to create and to analyze and to observe and to prototype and to communicate. You need representation for all of those steps. Third one is doing, you know, materializing, feeling. The body is at work, and we have to think that eventually everything is about the material, everything is about the body, okay? So let's experiment the material and the body. Fourth one is human sciences. You know, we have to teach a lot of human sciences in design schools, okay? And not human science, you know, in an academic way, but rooted to the field, you know, connect to human stakes, you know, and real stakes. This is what we have to do, a lot of human sciences, okay? But always connected to issues and problems. Food, living, moving, educating, deciding, you know, governing, caring. You know. The fifth one is about problem solving. So problem-centered, problem-driven pedagogy, you know, about all the methodologies, all the approach of the collective intelligence, all the cultural intercultural management, and about collaboration, you know. In many places, and particularly in France, you know, we love to see designers as authors, you know. They are individuals, you know, creators, and we think that they should not be presented like that. They should not be educated like that. They should be educated as collaborators. Nobody has to sign anything, you know, because we are doing it in groups. So it's not about, you know, signing something. It's about, you know, providing the good condition for human life experiences. Third one, the sixth one is understanding human organization. You know, those new design schools, they have to be schools preparing peers of engineers and managers, preparing women and men that once they are in an organization, they can target any position, even the highest one, you know. We need to and I will use a French metaphor, we need to reinvent design school where we will have the next president of the French Republic. This is what we have to do. People able to take decision and to orchestrate decision and to contribute to decision making. And then the last one is how to become a professional. If you want to take power, if you want to share power, if you want to be part of the decision making, you need to understand exactly how a human organization works. And whatever the human organization, could be a company, it could be a collectivity, it could be an association, but you have to be trained on that. Next slide. So this is the real objective of a new design school, a new European Bauhaus school. We need to become political animals again. Why I say that? Because we are not anymore political animals. We are social animals, we are economic animals, we are industrial animals. We are, taking a lot of pleasure animals, okay? But we are not political animals because we have been sold a dream called progress, which is a mechanical dream. You just take your ticket, you enter the train of progress, you don't have to do anything but just work. And then the final destination is a mechanical happiness. It's not true. We have to drive again. We have to put our hands on the wheel. We have to become political animals again, meaning we have to take decision of our own, individually, collectively. This is the final goal of a design school, actually of any school, I would say, in the 21st century, to train political animals. Why? Because, next slide, we need to act now. It's an emergency. It's an emergency. There is no resilience anymore. Okay? We have to be very performant, okay? Very performing, okay? Very efficient, okay? For who? Next slide. For the living, definitely. This is the baseline, of our school, from matter to decision. But among those this living, le vivant in French, we have a special category. Next slide. Human society, okay? Because we are part of it. We are not separated from it. We are part of it. We have to take care of it because we have to take care of us. And the next slide. This is it.
This is. Thanks a lot, Dominique. It was very illustrative. What we do, I suggest we will only give a short ray of light on the questions by the conclusion with the panelists. Because not everyone has the time to stay longer than the time we have made free for this exchange. I want to present very shortly the context of what we are doing and what we share. We are working now for about, as I said in introduction, we have worked for about 2 years ago on the co-design of response to this problem of school renovations and the effect we need in the neighborhoods, villages in transition, what is involving, and you describe it perfectly, 3 generations. So it is young people, or elderly people, it is the people that are working today. And everyone has to learn to collaborate differently, otherwise we will not achieve the change and we will only have a solution to adapt. Adapt will be very difficult for a lot of people. So we need to learn to collaborate. It is very urgent. So we wanted to make this true in a start process. We propose to start, and we have started, a living lab between 6 climate regions. Those are not political regions. Those are geographic regions. You see the flags. Those are more than 6 countries. But those regions are in different cultural climate situations with different buildings, with different way of cooperating, with different ideas, with different solutions. And if we bring together all those initiatives, we have a solution now in hand to renovate for schools in a very short time. This short time is till 2030. If you discuss with people that manage the school renovations, they say it is not possible. If you consider political time for a big city, you do 2 schools renovation within 5 years. So you need more than 150 years to do the renovations. We cannot go in this direction. So the proposal with European Bauhaus conversation that is open today is to start building this collaboration. We come with this proposal of a living lab. It can be widened, it can be shared, it can be connected. The possibility is in this living lab is to implement most solutions that are identified, and perhaps find also ways to break the silence and to give to regions where they don't have these initiatives to also implement those solutions initiatives. But they are not private, very private owned solutions, but that shareable solutions and going to empowerment strategy and to scalable approach. We want to demonstrate this in 2 years. So from this year to 2023. We do this with enormous best will. With actually at the stage where we are, we have no public funding for starting the process. We have started the process with the best will of all contributing partners. But there will come the renovation wave of the Green Deal. You have to take, as Dominique Schema said, the best possible decision with this money. This money is coming only one time. So if we do this together and we organize something together, then we can bring a ray of light of the best way of using this money, best way of connecting solution, best way of connecting people, young generation, preparing them for the change, bringing this change living in the schools community and the neighborhoods, village around those schools. So it is a proposal where we opened this discussion. We want to organize following discussions. We will discuss with the panelists and all good willing parties to want to be involved in the following steps on how we can do this. It is a proposal. So we had 3 questions. We have not the time for getting all those questions. It was, sorry, I searched my questions because I have not the screen. So the first question was, what are the key points of ECO² of the Green Deal, next education? You have seen for all those presentations, and it is open to comment and of the panelists, that it is a very complementary approach. We started with an approach very simple, but it takes time from in the school, changing the community, educative community, changing with the children, changing with the parents, an open school. As Sophocles explains, it is a bit as a nuclear reaction. You have to put a lot of energy before it reacts, and then it is a chain reaction. So there is also the problem of technical problem, because renovating schools is complicated, as it was pointed by Ajay Real Estate. You have seen it on a real project on more than 180 buildings. So it is a big collaboration, change of methods, big design challenge for the design teams. And still, this has to interact with the first part. If we want to change, we cannot go on with standard solutions. So how can we get connections between this? And then you have also the decided, helping to decide and real performance assessment of those decisions. We will discuss in the next months about personal carbon footprint or from buildings, from objects. This has to come because we don't measure what we make. So those are key points for ECO²-SCHOOLS, and we need all the competences together to bring this to life. I don't know if under the panelists you have comments about this and want to take a short word about this.
One comment I have, Christoph, is that we have a clear goal for the design or the hardware part in terms of what to do and those efficiency standards and a kind of thing. But I think one important element that is required is a clear goal for education also, along with the hardware. The software, which is usually missed, and what we find in this kind of project where yes, the expensive part is there, which is hardware that attracts a lot of attention. The software is missed, and so without a good software, no hardware can run. So we have to plan for that element. And the other some examples were there, but one other comment is that how do we involve students in the entire process? That's another question, is that because there are experts, there are adults who decide, but then where is the role of young people, student to understand? Because I'm sharing one example. I went to one very green school. It had everything from energy, solar, water systems, wastewater treatment, solid waste, and I think, and they claim to be one of the greenest school in that region. And then I went to a class and asked students, okay, why your school is called a green school? And the reply was that we have trees. So that part was only known to the management or the adults or the experts who did it. Nobody else in the school knew about it. And without that, we cannot disseminate it. We cannot take it to the communities. We cannot take the children's home. So that's another, I think, component that we need to keep in mind when we look at this, is that have clear educational goals and the clear educational process to involve students.
Very, very right at comments, and it is central because if we do the things as we have done, we will not change and we will not succeed. And changing of habits is mostly not the first thing we see. And here it is a systemic change of habits. So when you say it is a change of software, I totally agree with this, because we have truly to change the software in all the dimensions. It is in pedagogy. I see it with my own children. It is in the technical world. If you consider the way of building, way of designing the buildings, reusing the buildings, the way of producing energy, very complicated human change, considering renewables, the waste of objects we consume. This was also very right in your presentation about the way we are over-consuming, and we have to relearn how to have a just consummation about what we need. So I agree. Does someone else also want to add something to this first question? No one? Okay, then I will take the second question, which is the step aside to achieve this transformation process. With what keys to succeed in cooperation? I have seen those 3 years. I have seen the silos. It asks a lot of energy and communication to break the silos. And how do we succeed to make step aside? We are in front. We are in the wall. We can make a step aside. And this step aside is a transformational process through cooperation. To achieve the change, all the changes you described in your initiatives, but together. Do you have a reaction or
yes.
contribution about this?
Yes, I have. I have a reaction. I think, you know, we have to come back to the foundation of the new European Bauhaus, okay? It's the reaffirmation of the political project of Europe. Okay? It's a European project, okay? How do you reconnect, I mean, the economy, the industry, and the well-being of the people in Europe, okay? And it's a confirmation of the fact that Europe has something to say, special to say to the world, you know, which is a place where there is the balance between the market and the public interest. And I think that it's not a step aside, it's a reaffirmation of the political dimension of the project. It's a political dimension. I mean, Europe is a political object. Europe is a political project, and the new European Bauhaus and the ECO² within the new European Bauhaus is political. And we have to make sure that every student, whatever age, you know, and whatever school he or she is in, I mean, they are political animals, as I said, okay? They are part of a political project because we are facing China on one side, and I mean, another model, the US, the Anglo-Saxon project on the other side, okay? And they have not the same values, not the same approaches, not the same project at all. And what we do here, we are trying to reaffirm the singularity of the European project. And the European project, its singularity, it's not just an economic project. It's not, you know, an order project. It's the perfect balance between order and the greater good and value creation. And we do it, and we have to do it through the new European Bauhaus project, and particularly within this kind of project relating to ECO²-SCHOOLS.
Does anyone want to add something?
Okay, I think we've got to collect good examples from small things, great deals like building complete new buildings, starting small things, to achieve that everyone can find an own starting point to think about new schools. I think that there's something needed for inspiration, maybe out of the daily working routine. So that would be quite interesting. I'm thinking about, I tried to go to Venice this year to Biennale, to Architektur Biennale, and that's a kind of exhibition thing. You're not related to the projects, and then you're entering for 2 days this exhibition, and you're getting full of inspiration and seeing maybe strange projects you never thought about before. So that kind of presentation and collection, so that everyone can find a way to connect with this theme So that that's in my head of idea to start on many schools or in many communities at the same time, so that there are, I think the good examples are the key.
Yes, and it is a bit the idea. We have 8 schools in those 6 climate cultural regions that are volunteer involved, are totally normal schools with no special funding, but they are wanting to do this. So they volunteer for this. They have already started projects that can implement some concepts, and they are willing to implement the concept further on the rest of the building in the next years. We see the way we could support those volunteer schools. And then it is a possibility for the different regions to open by own will the initiative to more schools and involved actors. So for France, with CEREMA, what is a public council to the territories and cities on the technical aspects, we want to open the initiative to 20 follower schools in France. So this could an initiative be taken in different regions, and so doing a bit as you described, to start this in different territories as a demonstration and collaborative test to bring the solutions together, to find ways or best implementing this in the next next years.
Okay.
So we will we'll leap over time. The third question was, but what do we need to change in the support of European Union to help this in common cooperative new growth process? Because till now, the European Commission initiatives are more competitive one than collaborative one. If you want to make a collaborative project, you have to be very competitive against 20, 30, 50 more projects. If you are a small territory, you have no access. If you are big structures, then you are struggling to be the best in the next year, and so you are very competitive. I have the intuition, I feel it could change big things if a part of the European Union strategy could be helping cooperation. And then starting this kind of initiative that is described through this start discussion. But perhaps there are other things also you want to point about the European Union could change to address this new challenge. Because European Union has also to change. It is changing with the European Bauhaus approach. Sorry, it is quite difficult. We will be in situation to exchange more about those questions in the next conversation, perhaps. So no, if someone wants to take to say a word about this third question, or you think we need more to think about this?
Yeah, it's quite complex.
Yes,
it's a quite complex question. It starts with different building standards and thinking about construction. If you're asking an Italian engineer and a German engineer, they were totally different solutions. The result of the same question. So this exchange and learning from each other, maybe this, but that's not only for schools. That's a greater, a greater complex theme. So this finding this relation between the schools of different countries and between the architecture and operation of school. So at Landwirtschaft, we are working in, for example, in Luxembourg and Austria and Germany, and and also with some Netherlands project from the Netherlands, and they are totally different. So that's a quite complex question how to get it on this part.
But what we think an issue is how to create. I mean, we have this conversation. We discover projects. We discover, I mean, great ideas and achievements. Don't you think that the issue is how to create a network, a powerful network, and related tools or platforms that gives not only us, but many, many, many people the opportunity to look at those achievements, those approaches. And so we know that, you know, through Google search, we can find a lot of things. Why not, doing some curation, some editorial work by, you know, saying, okay, how do we link and give a view on all those projects, not only to us, but to a community? Say, okay, we are working on this subject. This is what we are currently doing. This is what we have been telling us, okay, through conversation. But how can we expose this to a larger audience but in a curated way, you know?
Yes, it is. I think it is a big point of collaboration effect we could achieve. It is to first to have a consolidation. The projects that were already accomplished have already made a big consolidation of experience, knowledge, but it is not exploited. I have documented this. It is huge. This could be shared and connected, and so organized another way, so that the information is not kept in single projects, but shared and organized, so that other people can access this. But it is also giving counsel, so that the people can change. You pointed the fact that in the different countries there are cultural and heritage of knowledge and addressing questions, solutions, technique that are different. So the different territories need personalized, tailored counsel, helping counsel. It is a bit the idea of this chamber of quality that could work in the different territories as a common shared work unit. Because the competences are there, but they are not always shared. And after that, there will be new generations of people involved in those projects that will themselves initiate a process. How can we help to start and to consolidate, upscale this process in the different regions, neighborhoods? And a last thing is about the consolidation of this, because this will change the industry. This will change the way we address educative aspects. Consider what is happening in digitalizing the schools after the COVID-19. What's discussed today is more about people than about digital aspects. It is not about conventional learning. It it is a totally learning process that is a human living learning process. So digital should serve this. So it addresses very different aspects that are connected, and the most important one is peer-to-peer collaboration, decentralized, so that every territory, every stakeholders find the fitting solution for the problem he has to face and the progress he wants to make, or the things he wants to share. I think we definitely need to organize this discussion for next steps, because it is it is interesting, but quite important work that has to be built in a collaborative way. Do you agree with this statement?
Absolutely, Christoph. It is very important to organize our next steps and collaboration between our experiences.
And for the persons that are still present, are you willing to that we have exchanges in the summer period and after the summer to see how we could propose to the European Bauhaus team collaborative work on this theme in the next year, this year, and perhaps on 2 years, I don't know, and identify what we can do and what we can make for priorities in this new European Bauhaus approach. Do you agree, or have a counter proposition about this?
I mean, we have to do something, because why creating conversation if we don't produce something out of that? I mean, I will be interested in having, you know, with all the materials that we have today, how can we categorize all this content? Okay, all those contents. I mean, from the, I would say from matter to decision, from education to buildings, from, you know, from pedagogy to methodology. And I mean, what is the kind of narrative we could build using the material of today? You know, if we had to categorize all the presentation, what will be the categories, and what will be the narrative? If we had to build a, you know, a narration using all the presentation that we had today, what will it be? Because it might be a way to say, this is the story we are contributing to, and this is, I mean, this is a story, this is our story, but this is a story in Europe, okay? About, you know, eco-schools, from matter to decision, from pedagogy to methodology, etc. And so, because, you know, I'm guessing that every one of us, we have been hearing all the presentation and you know, depending on our own tropism, but it might be interesting to see if those are bricks, you know, bits of a narration. What will be the narration?
Yes, I think it is a very good proposal, and I have lived this last summer on mobility, about writing, storytelling for imaginating what would be the mobility in 2050. And it was made with cross influence of experts, of artists, of persons as me that are more urban planners, architects, and persons that are working on new mobilities, that are working on changing habits. and all together they have written a story together. So I'm convinced of it. It is a powerful tool. It can be also made with designing a picture, as a bit Lernlandschaft made in his presentation. Also, he used a picture of New Reppenbauers to make us thinking about the steps and progress. Julien Doucier in France has made about an image of a Renaissance picture. What is happening in the city of today till tomorrow, and what has to be changed. It is illustrated. So this is truly a work that could be tried after this cross added value exchange and presentation, and then having a kind of more global image of what we can do together.
I think it's not all about categorization. I think the point is that when I'm going to Venice, what I'm expecting is a kind of randomness and seeing things from totally other points. So maybe a teacher from elementary school is seeing how the contracting, the AG contracting from Schule from Morgen, how they are working, which methods they are using, and then she's thinking, oh, that's the thing I need for my project, this kind of project managing in a smaller scale. So this random you see things you didn't expect. I think that's a very, very important point. And categories are sometimes a little bit limiting.
Yes.
Thinking. So maybe there's a form of exhibition or a little bit creative atmosphere where the interesting examples are, and then you're picking this and that, and then you see, and then the structure comes if you're deeper interested in, for example, energy efficiency or project managing 150 schools at the same time or something like that. So I think there are two aspects: the categorization and when
I was speaking about categorization, it was not, it was about how to build a narrative, starting with the material that we have today, and which is a lot of variety of content, of approaches, even of players. We are not doing the same thing, but we are attracted by the same topic, but we are not doing the same thing. It was just about that, not. I'm a contemptor of categorization, because categorization is separation. We don't have to separate, we have to reunite everything. So I agree with you. It's not about categorization. The category was, I was talking about the material that we have today. How can we understand this, and how can we build a narrative not only for the community, but also for the community, the European community, to say, okay, this is what we do, this is what we want to do, and this is the kind of in French we have a word, I don't know in English, imaginaire, I don't know how to say that, imaginaire in English.
Imagination.
Narration, fiction, okay. We want to live in, or to capitalize on, to build not fiction but reality.
Okay, so we have some opening for the next work. So I will check by sending an email to the panelists to see if there is agreement to organize a kind of preparatory work session for preparing what could be the next conversation. and then organize this next conversation and do this also interaction with an European Bauhaus team. European Bauhaus team will present a white paper about with all the contributions they have gathered till now in the second part of September with announcement of Ursula von der Leyen, and there will be also the announcement of European Bauhaus Prize. Prizes that is the first first tentative to bring in light so very transforming initiatives. So it is needed that we work, not saying we will work for 3 years, in 3 months, but that we were ready for this to make the next steps with a European Bauhaus team in September. So I will come back to you, to the good-willing partners and the persons that registered to see this interest and organize a common, perhaps common cross work session. If you have a proposal, don't hesitate to come back by email also for this. It would be precious. Mm-hmm. Thanks a lot for being there. And so I will make a copy also of all the discussion that is in the chat. So we are over time. Sorry, you have seen we are a bit overwhelmed over the richness of this conversation, but it points that it is needed. And so I'm very happy to see the effect that is coming from this meeting. And so I hope you also.
Okay.
So have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
To everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, everyone. Let's stay in touch.
Thanks a lot for being there.
Thank you.
And till next meeting, I hope.
Yeah.
Thank
Goodbye.
You.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.